House Atreides had demanded of his own son a generation before. To make his father proud, Paul would meet those expectations, but he rather liked the idea of doing things people did not anticipate. The boy tossed and turned in the darkness, wiped perspiration from his brow. Finally, he swung out of bed and carried a sheet and pillow out onto the small balcony of his bedroom, where he lay down in his thin nightclothes. The tile balcony was hard and warm, still radiating heat from the day. With a sigh, he gazed up at the gently twinkling stars in the crystal-clear night. Across his field of vision danced stars whose names he knew, the ones his father and Dr. Yueh had taught him: Sila, Ikam, Yailar, and many others, all part of the vast galactic imperium. But none of the brightest stars overhead at this time of year belonged to powerful noble families. Caladan did not have a particularly favorable location, not physically close to the capital, Catane, and not on any major Highliner shipping or passenger routes. Other Landsrod houses had equally unfavorable locations, but some managed to excel even so. Paul wondered about the future of House Atreides, and what his part might be in that unfolding story. As he lay there, he heard a fluttering of wings. One of his father's trained hawks landed on the stone railing of the balcony. In the low light, the magnificent creature looked sidelong at him, then took up a sentry position, turning its head first one way and then the other. Paul realized that the bird had not come here by coincidence. The head of Atreides' security, Thufir Hawat, somehow knew that the young man had gone out onto the balcony, and he'd sent the hawk. The old warrior Mentat and his staff had been working with these birds in recent weeks, part of the falconry group maintained by the Duke. These specialized birds had surveillance equipment secured to their bodies. Thufir worried constantly about young Paul's welfare, complaining about the unnecessary risks the 14-year-old had been taking, such as climbing steep cliffs and flying aircraft into dangerous storms over the sea. Duncan Idaho had accompanied him on such risky endeavors, calling them maneuvers to stretch the young man's abilities. He had sworn never to let Paul come to harm, but even Duncan had been concerned. "Perhaps we're going a bit too far," the swordmaster admitted to the boy. "Thufir wants you to train, but within limits." The Mentat watched the Atreides air like a hawk, figuratively, and now literally. Paul extended his hand to the bird on the rail. It watched him, then looked away, continuing its sentry duty. Paul could see the small lenses on its feathers, a transponder at its throat. No doubt, the old Mentat was reviewing images right now. "Thufir, I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself on my own castle balcony." The transponder emitted a small but discernible voice. "It is not possible to concern myself too much with your welfare, young master. If harm were to befall you under my watch, my abilities would be worth nothing. Now, I want you to have a restful sleep." Paul lay back on his pillow. "Thufir, thank you for your concern." He used a Bene Gesserit mental exercise his mother had taught him to remove troubling thoughts, so he could open the doorway to sleep. His body was exhausted after another long day of training with Duncan. With warm sea breezes around him and the hawk standing sentinel above him, Paul drifted into a slumber of darkness and solitude, which shifted gradually into a desert landscape, bright sun on hot dunes. He stood on an expanse of sand, squinting at a rock escarpment baked in the sun. In the dream, it was morning in that distant place, but already warm, portending another hot day. A figure made its way down a trail on the great rock, moving athletically in a desert costume. At the bottom of the rock opened a burnous to reveal the elfin features of a young woman with skin darker than his own and hair matted with dust. He'd seen her before in dream after.